The UN Charter was written with the express purpose of preventing a war like the one President Putin just started. The war has brought...
As U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield is helping lead the country's many diplomatic efforts around the world, including our response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Her post at the UN is a 1 mile straight shot east of our Times Square studio. That's where I recently met up with the ambassador for a chat about foreign policy, gun violence, and racial justice, right in the room where it happens.
It has launched more missiles in the past 5 months than in the prior 2 years combined.
Name an issue with worldwide implications.
We are deeply concerned.
And it winds up here, in this stately room on Manhattan's East Side. You're president of the UN Security Council.
I am, for the month of May.
What does that feel like?
It feels like a great responsibility.
Leading the conversation on this 15-member council.
The agenda is adopted.
Is Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, a 35-year veteran of the Foreign Service with posts in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. She was ambassador to Liberia and is known in these halls simply as
LTG.
LTG. At the center of any given international crisis,
the provisional agenda for this meeting is maintenance of peace and security of Ukraine.
The hottest conflict now on her plate is raging in Eastern Europe. Where are we with Russia?
4 seats away.
Are we in a stalemate, a state of war?
We are not in a state of war with Russia. Here in the Security Council, we're engaging with them on what is happening in Ukraine, but we're also engaging on what's happening in Syria. We're engaging on what's happening in Yemen, and we have discussions around this table on all of those issues.
She is also mobilizing the Western alliance against its aggression.
Today, we call on Russia to stop its unprovoked, unjustified, unconscionable war.
But diplomacy is hard work, especially when all 5 permanent members have veto power against UN resolutions.
We certainly have countries that are totally in accord with us. There are countries who are wavering, and then we have Russia and China.
Russia and China. I mean, what do we call them at this stage?
I call them a bromance. Not to be light about this, China has decided it will tie itself to Russia's aggression against Ukraine, which is out of character for them.
For now, the United States government is aligned, with Congress passing a bipartisan $40 billion Ukrainian aid package. And if Ukraine falls, then what?
We're not going to sit back and allow Ukraine to fall.
She left the State Department in 2017 and returned to become a formal member of President Biden's cabinet as UN ambassador. How often do you get to those cabinet-level meetings?
I attend every cabinet meeting.
Her journey here began in the tiny, segregated town of Baker, Louisiana. She was protected by her close-knit family.
But that said, we had crosses burnt by the Klan in our community every single weekend. I was bused for 30 minutes past Baker High School to go to the black high school. So we could see these schools and we knew they were better equipped. But what they didn't have were the black teachers that we had who wanted to make sure that they prepared us for success in spite of racism. And so while it was difficult, I look back on it and realize that who I am today is because I went through that.
You are your ancestors' wildest dreams.
A message of hard-earned wisdom she's taken on the college commencement circuit. From Mississippi's HBCU, Tougaloo College.
Global challenges, even those in faraway places, are going to impact you.
To predominantly white University of Wisconsin, where she attended grad school. We have climate change, we have migration issues, we have food insecurity, mass shootings, war. What was your message to young people in a way they could understand and connect?
Well, first and foremost, they can't sit on the sidelines. I said yesterday at Columbia that we'd failed them because we'd not addressed these issues. They've been prepared for it, and it's their time to address it.
And matters of domestic importance are also part of her agenda. We spoke to her just 2 days after the grocery store massacre in Buffalo, New York.
What do you think this says to the folks who are leading other nations, who are representing other nations?
You know, it's interesting. So last night I started getting text messages on the Security Council WhatsApp group expressing condolences to me and to the United States for what happened. I think they understand that we do have a crisis in the United States, that racism exists. I've never denied it. I've acknowledged it here in New York at the United Nations, that we have an issue still with racism.
We must face it down every time.
What were you hoping to connect to your colleagues?
You know, my message is we're not perfect. We are not a perfect democracy, but we can acknowledge our weaknesses, and that's a strength, to be able to acknowledge that you have an issue and work to address it. So let's work to address those issues and make our countries more human rights friendly and more racially integrated.
Issues she believes can only be solved in this space.
It is still the one place where 193 countries, all of these flags, where we can come together and find commonality, discuss our differences, and find solutions. It is the only place that we can do that.
And one of the surprising things out of this interview was finding out that the UN Security Council has a WhatsApp group chat. Really interesting woman, because she's definitive about talking to young people, because her exposure to the Foreign Service came in Baker, Louisiana, when someone from the State Department came to speak. And it just opened up her world to this possibility.
I love what she said to the kids at the graduation, you're your ancestors' wildest dreams.
Right.
Well, also keeping in mind that more work needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the time is now.